What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It is time for no, not a 4-in-1, but today a bonus edition 5-in-1 album review. What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It is time for no, not a 4-in-1 album review, but a 5-in-1 album review session. That's right, everything from a viewer-suggested London Grammar review, to AJR, to SZA, Phoenix, and Alt J. All of those are going to be covered today in a brief format. Some of them I just don't have a ton to say about, but I wanted to get out some thoughts on them because you guys have been requesting them. And the London Grammar one, like I said, it was a viewer request, and I didn't want to skip over it. I almost was going to do a 4-in-1, but then I remembered, hey, I need to cover this one as well. And I went back and played the album one more time, and then two more times, and I was like, yeah, I have to give this at least a little brief review. So thanks for tuning in today, guys. Thanks for staying subscribed to the channel over these ad apocalypse times. If you're able to support on Patreon, it's the top link in the description down below. Thank you to everybody who joined in just the past week and everybody who has been supporting just long term. Thank you so much. And with that being said, leave a like on the video and let's kick it off with my first review, SZA. SZA was the first female artist signed to Top Dog Entertainment. She now also has a joint venture with RCA, but you might know Top Dog for, I don't know, Kendrick Lamar, J-Rock, just a couple of names to throw those out there. And it's a really cool label, honestly, and I'm glad that they have SZA on their roster. She's a singer that mixes everything from these trap influences, especially on this debut album, Control, but along with that, she's got more of a soulful affectation to her music, something that is reminiscent of older R&B. There's actual instrumentation in there. I'm talking everything from guitars to just sweeping melodies on maybe the keyboard or the drums. It's something that actually kicks with a nice vibe. I mean, we see that right off the bat. The opening track is fantastic. I love Supermodel. It's such a quiet ambient tune that really just starts off with the guitar, her voice, and if you're not drawn to that voice, I mean, maybe it's not for everyone, but I honestly think it's quite beautiful, and I am ashamed for not checking out more of her music sooner. I've known about her for a while now. I knew about her whenever she signed to Top Dog. It didn't seem like she was really comfortable being in the limelight though, and she wasn't comfortable with being famous, which I can kind of understand. She kind of has the girl next door type thing going for her. I think her hair was something a lot of people blogged about and talked about because she kind of kept it unkempt, did whatever she wanted to, wore whatever she wanted to, and I like that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that she's one thing or another. She's being herself, and that's totally fine. Obviously, people were very hyped for the Kendrick Lamar and Travis Scott collaborations, and of those, I am surprisingly loving the Travis Scott one much more than Doves in the Wind, the Kendrick track. Love Galore is the one that features Travis Scott, and honestly, he's much more serious on this one. You've still got the stupid yeah sound effects going in the background, and I hate that. I can't listen to much of his music. I mean, I think he's okay sometimes, but these stupid like shouts like after he says something, I don't know why rappers feel the need to do that. It's like at the end of every line, they just have to add some stupid ad-lib sound effect or something, and I hate it. I honestly detest it. But here, he comes through. His voice, while still somewhat processed in auto-tune, sounds much better. It fits with SZA and vibes on this tune. Kind of a relationship-centric one, but it's down to earth, it's cool, and it works. Whereas Doves in the Wind, honestly, a little bit too out there, a little bit too silly in places. The wordplay really isn't clever. I mean, pussy seems to be the central theme, and SZA and Kendrick both coming through, talking about that. It's not that appealing, and the instrumental on this one, it's a little bit too flat for me personally. However, it does pick back up as this album goes on, especially it gets a little run going there in the middle section here. I really love everything from really Drew Barrymore up to Broken Clocks. Some of my absolute favorites come in that section of the album. Broken Clocks, one kind of like a daily routine type of thing, and just some more down-to-earth type stuff. I love The Weeknd and the way that just kind of works in, like, once again, making her very personable, very down-to-earth, but at the same time, it plays with several different styles of music. It plays with everything from these trap-leaning styles to the R&B, and she finds this nice middle ground that I didn't know it existed, and here she brings out the best of it. Garden, parentheses, Say It Like Dat, is another one that I really, really like. It's something where she seems to be talking to her man, her lover, her love interest at least, and she's basically saying, I love it even though maybe you lied to me, talking about my ass or whatever else it is, whatever other feature or whatever it might be, the situation that whatever it calls for, her man is there doing the right thing, I guess, but at the same time, she's just kind of telling another story out of her journal, and I like that because it feels real, and at the same time, it doesn't feel like super like story time YouTuber type thing where we're hearing this elaborate situation that can never be, but the way that the music really just evens it out, it makes it feel like this just nice atmosphere, and that's how I feel about the majority of this record. It really just kind of glides all throughout. I also really am loving the wavy interlude and the way that that leads into Normal Girl and Pretty Little Birds, two other fantastic tracks. I think Pretty Little Birds being one of my absolute favorites. It features Isaiah Rashad on the tune, and his voice absolutely complements SZA's. They come through with a great pairing here. Unfortunately, there's a few songs that just feel a little bit more scattered. They don't feel as coherent, or maybe they don't feel as necessary. It's 14 songs, 47 minutes, and I would say the majority of that, probably at least 35 minutes, I am really liking or else loving. So I have to give this record a 4 out of 5 and definitely a recommendation. It surprised me. Phoenix are one of those bands that I didn't even realize how long they had been around, but their first album came out in 2000. They took a little bit of a break after 2013's Bankrupt. You guys might know them from their breakthrough in the US at least, Wolfgang Amadeus, not Mozart, but Wolfgang Amadeus Phoenix. That record had some massive hits on it like Listomania and of course 1901, the song that was in every commercial ever for about a year, and it got old fast. But at this point I've gone back to some of their stuff and I've liked a lot of it, and this record just doesn't feel as necessary in their discography. The new one is called Ti Amo. It's an Italian phrase. It's one that, from my research at least, I'm not Italian, it seems to mean like more of like an I love you, or I would genuinely like do anything for you, I would be there for you in any situation. It's a more personable I love you, or else a more personable phrase that you would say to a lover or something like that, or maybe a very, very close friend, not something that you would say to family. So this record, how does it feel? Does it feel exuberant? Yes, absolutely. And I definitely feel a lot of expression coming through in these disco dip tunes of synth pop, mainly spoken in French, at least for part of the song. A lot of the titles, in fact, the majority of the titles on this record are either Italian phrases or in Italian, which is crazy because it's weird to just see things blended like that. I mean, I guess I've gotten exposed along with a lot of the world this year with Despacito, seeing two languages mashed together like that, English and Spanish there, English and Italian here, and yeah, it kind of gets confusing in places, but at the same time, there are some nice flows here. I like the guitar cadences and the way that the synthesizers kick, but my main problem with the album is that there's just not standout songs. You know what I mean whenever I say that? It's like an album that's a very smooth roller coaster ride, but nothing really just takes you up high and then drops you back down and just kind of throws you for a loop. It's all just kind of steady vibing over the course of 36 minutes, 10 songs. And there's nothing wrong with that inherently. It's just that I couldn't see myself picking out certain tracks. Maybe I could come back to the whole album and just kind of vibe with it while I drive, or if I've got people over, it's on in the background or something like that. But I don't see this as being super necessary as a standalone album with singles, tracks, and that sort of thing. I mean, I heard J-Boy, the kickoff single, and it just didn't move me all that much. Although I am really, really enjoying the title track. I think that and Fior de Latte are probably some of my absolute favorites on this one. I do apologize if I got anything wrong with the whole Italian versus French thing. That's me coming from a place of ignorance on the world languages and that sort of thing. So to my best understanding, hopefully I got that right. And as far as a rating for this album goes, I'm gonna have to go with a 3 out of 5. Definitely serviceable, getting the job done, but nothing really better than that for me. Up next, we have Truth is a Beautiful Thing. This was a viewer request, like I mentioned at the start of this video, by London Grammar. Somehow I had never heard of this UK alternative trio before. They play with trip hop, alternative, electronic, and atmospheric stuff. Dream pop could definitely be a tag applied to them, and I had honestly never heard of them until I had a viewer or two recommend them, and just curiosity got the best of me because I was like, that sounds like a pretty cool name. Let's see what's going on here. And I saw that they had a female singer, and honestly, I prefer the female voice over the male, a lot of the times at least. And so I was like, let's check this out. Let's see how it's sounding. And I was very surprised. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I vibed with it. Not the first time around, but within a few listens, I really started to settle in with the sound of this album. It's something that is kind of the ultimate Twilight rock, if you know what I mean. No, not Twilight the movie. I'm talking like dusk, like outside. It's starting to get dark and it's changing into the night. It seems like kind of a transformative shift of an album for them. Maybe they're coming at a turning point in their career, and I like that. I like the impact that some of these songs have. Rooting for You was released as the lead-off single here, and that is such an inspiring tune because it feels very disdained and something that feels distant, but at the same time there's a glimmer of hope because it is kind of dark and depressing with its tone musically, as is much of this record, but there's still that shining light in the vocals and in the lyrics. I love their lead singer. She is so talented. Her voice really just comes through. It can stretch and hit lower registers, but it can also hit the peaks, the pinnacles of those higher notes that are needed as well. And for that reason, I really have it standing out in my mind. Some of these cuts, like everyone else, I think are the ultimate best songs on this thing. I keep coming back to that one because I'm drawn to the lyrical content here. It almost feels bitter, like somebody's been hurt and she's a little bit jaded on everything. And then Oh Woman, Oh Man, the way that the drums pump on that one, just kind of a churning, mixing in a little bit of an electronic swirl in there. They've got everybody from John Hopkins to obviously themselves, Paul Epworth producing this thing, and I like how they just kind of shined it up. It's not like, their sound wasn't kind of polished already. I went back, checked out their first record, but they've come a long way since then. It's been a few years, and they've come back with something very, very strong. Another one of the singles was Big Picture, and I can't say that it's one of my ultimate favorites here. It definitely kind of has like almost a theatrical, classical vibe mixed with something new in the alternative vein, but I'm not sure I'm getting on board as much as I've seen some people. I did watch like the lyric video for that one, and it seemed to be a mainly positive reaction that was garnering from fans especially, but I didn't look too much into it. So if you have been a long-term London Grammar fan, what do you think about the new album, the new singles, everything like that? Comment below and let me know. Overall, I think this is a very, very strong effort. I think they've done great on everything from like Hell to the Liars, which has a lot of fury in its lyrical potency, and even the musicality of this record. It definitely all fits together very, very well. It's a calm but dark, kind of sad aesthetic that it's going for, but it reaches and grabs that, and it just pulls you into the world as well. I love that about it. Some of my other favorites include Non-Believer, the title track Truth is a Beautiful Thing, and I will link others in the description down below if you would like to see that. Overall for this record, I have to give it a strong 4 out of 5. Oh, you guys have been wanting me to talk about this All J record, but I just don't have much to say. It's not a very good album, guys. What else do I have to say? I mean, I've seen a couple of other reviews, Spectrum Pulse, The Needle Drop, even Pitchfork panned it, and I actually kind of agreed with them for once on an album review, which I normally almost never do. But here, I have to say, it's a very mediocre listen, and I was all on board for their last record. It took some time to get into This Is All Yours, and I obviously was into An Awesome Wave. I own both of those records on CD and vinyl. It's just that here, I feel like they dropped the ball, and instead of going for this insightful, out there, dark, but you're drawn into the lyrics, or the calm, or even the minimalism, here it's just tedious, dull, and boring. Repetition, length, everything else. I mean, it's only 8 songs, and good God, it drags on. And I don't know what they were thinking with that House of the Rising Sun cover. It just feels so weird, unnecessary. Like, who asked for this, and why are you putting this on an album that is already only 8 new songs? In fact, now there's only 7 because that one was a cover, and that cover is not good whatsoever. The singles were good. It seemed like they knew to put the best foot forward, but the rest of it pretty much feels like fluff. I mean, Hit Me Like That Snare sticks out like a sore thumb. It's weird. It tries to be the left hand free of the record, and it does not work. And In Cold Blood, I thought was a really, really good and interesting single. More upbeat, energetic. That's cool. Adeline, hopefully I'm saying one of those right. That was another song that definitely has build to it, but it also has payoff, and that's what we need in these little slow, simmering ballad type tunes from Alt J. 3WW I did a track review for. I liked the song. I thought it was good. It features Ellie Rosell of Wolf Alice. They just put out a kick-ass new song. You should check that out if you haven't already. But 3WW, it's a cool one. Honestly, I like the lyrical content, even though it's very strange. It just kind of piques my curiosity somehow. And then Ellie comes in, sounding great up against their lead singer, Joe. And it makes for a cool song. Even though it's 5 minutes long, it definitely has its highs and lows, and the little valleys in between aren't so bad either. Overall, I don't find this to be an interesting record. Some of the songs here are just an absolute snooze fest, I'm telling you. Pleader, Dead Crush last year, not really feeling it much at all. For this record, I can't give it more than a 2 out of 5. Oh, goodness. Oh, this is the last one on the list, and this is the one that I'm having the hardest time reviewing. I put it last for a reason, just because I don't have a ton to say, but what I do have to say, I'm mainly annoyed by. So here it is, AJR, The Click, everybody who was asking for it. How do I feel about this album? Well, I feel like it's a bad John Bellion ripoff trying to be super peppy bop pop romp that fails and falls flat on its face because it's trying so hard. It's like, oh, we don't take ourselves seriously. That's the gimmick. You get it? You get it? And they keep punching you with the, you get it? For like 13 songs. I fucking get it, AJR. I get it. You're three brothers. You know, you're making music. You're using all these weird and crazy sounds and putting them in your music, mixing everything from like classical to dubstep and rock and alternative. Where's the bass on this album? Where is the real fun? Where is the real connectivity? Because it seems like they're trying to write songs from their own point of view, but their points of view seem like maybe everybody else's points of view, like a massive point of view. Like they don't want to offend anybody necessarily. They don't want to alienate anyone, so they just try to appeal to the biggest audience possible. Like I'm Not Famous, for example. My goodness, that one annoys the hell out of me as he chants, "Where my haters, where my haters." I don't care if you're not being serious. That doesn't make it a good song. The music on that one, the layered vocals, in fact, the backing vocals all throughout just annoy me the way that they bring up the gang vocal style. No Grass Today has to be one of the worst songs of the year. My God, what a dumb fucking song. Oh, I can't stand it. It's just like, once again, I don't know exactly how to explain it without just crucifying them essentially, but steer clear of that one and the majority of this record. There's a few songs that I think are okay. Weak is catchy as hell. It's undeniable. It's a big single, and it actually feels more genuine. I kind of like the vocal heights that they reach on that one, the big kind of electronic swirl that it has carrying the entire song. It's got a catchy hook, and that's something, it seems like they know what they're doing there, but they lose that the majority of the album. I think Sober Up with Rivers Cuomo is one of the other better songs here, and it's interesting that that comes up because Rivers once worked with Simple Plan, and I feel like a lot of this album feels like Simple Plan's last album taking one for the team. It's like they mixed things, they like steered away from like pop punk on their record and went the route of just mixing like classic elements, like kind of like a doo-woppy type thing, some vintage stuff like Singing in the Rain, that awful Simple Plan song. You remember that? That's what this reminds me of all throughout. It's just way too happy for like no reason. It doesn't feel realistic whatsoever. It starts off on the opening track that just basically lets you know, hey, you're in for a shit show here. You sure you want to stay tuned? For me, 1.5. There's a song on there about The Office where he relates his entire growing up experience to seasons of The Office. It's called Netflix Trip. If you want to laugh, listen to it, but if you're looking for an actual serious song, I mean, like, good God, can you get cheesier? I mean, you can't just say, oh, it's a gimmick, you know, like, oh, we don't take ourselves too seriously, but then you try to write serious songs like that, like, oh, I'm going through my life, and then you're singing things like Season 6, this was happening, and then I spent my Friday night with Steve Carell, and, like, I love The Office, but good God, I didn't want a song from AJR about it. That'll do it for the review roundup today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this 5-in-1 session that we did today. Let me know your thoughts on any of these albums in the comment section down below, and keep in mind, these were all just my opinions, so let me know yours in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like on this video. And if you would like to see an individual review out of this 5-in-1, click on the timestamps in the description if you're looking for that. My Patreon is linked right here in the corner. It's that annotation right there if you're able to support there. And if you would like to see a couple of recent reviews or videos that I did on the channel, click those annotations right below me. Other than that, you can find me on social media in the description. Let me know other albums you'd like to see me cover, and I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.